Hey everybody, Brent Wright here, your favorite Northwest Indiana real estate agent. Um, I do want to apologize. I'm really sorry that my market report is coming out at the very end of the month. Was a pretty hectic and busy month, so I do want to apologize for that. Doing something a little different, shooting this here at home. It's night, so it's dark, got some lights on, so hopefully you can see me okay. Hope the sound's good. Again, this is my first time doing it this way, so I'm gonna do something a little different too. Because like our board is 7 counties, right? So you've got Lake County, Porter, Jasper, Newton, Stark, Pulaski, LaPorte counties are all tied in to our local MLS. So I typically talk about the entire board, right? Which I'm going to do. But then I'm also going to talk about some of the differences between Porter and Lake County, like what we see going on. Overall, home sales in the month of September were good. Home sales actually increased 7.14% compared to last year at that time. Okay. So that's a very, very good thing. In fact, July, August, September. This is 4 consecutive months of an increase of sales for the month of 20 for that month in 25 versus 24. So that's a positive thing to see. The interest rates have been lower. We didn't get back up to the 8% or whatever, but we are sitting in that like really low 6 range right now. Tomorrow, again, this is like towards the end of the month. Sorry, I'm in the middle of like a haircut transition and I'm like that weird phase where it's like, you know. Tomorrow the Fed's supposed to come out and talk about doing a rate cut, so that might be something. Like we'll see what happens there. Typically, when the Fed cuts rates temporarily, the mortgage interest rates go up slightly, but we'll see what happens. Anyways, so we talked about the healthy increase in sales. The average sale price increased 2.8% versus last year at the same time. Okay. Price per square foot, 3.22%. Average market time increased 28% to 45 days. Now, this is again overall the entire MLS for the month of September. Okay. Now, this is kind of interesting, and I do want to bring this up. Okay. So in Lake County, the increase in sales was 6.34%. The increase in Porter County, it increased 7.57%. Now, what I wasn't expecting was the average sale price. In Lake County, the average sale price increased only 0.33%. Okay. Porter County, 8.49%. Average square footage in Lake County went from 152 square foot to 155. That's 1.97% increase. Porter County, it was a little slightly lower at 1.14, so it's kind of different there, but larger homes are being built here. This is what's got to be happening. Market time is like 51 days, 42 days. Now, I also did some existing home sales stuff, right? So not like just the new construction. I removed that out of the equation. So this was actually pretty good. So existing homes in Lake County, we saw a decrease. Okay, an average sale price went from 286, 336 to 279 and $15. So that's a minus 2.55%. The reason why I think we're seeing that is, again, this is an average sale, right? So if you have a lot cheaper homes selling, that's going to draw down the average overall, right? That's why I actually like looking at a price per foot. I feel like the price per foot average, it gives you a better baseline of the price, right? Because like if it's a bigger home, obviously it'll be more. If it's a smaller home, it'll be less. But the price per square foot average is kind of, to me, like that's a good indication of where the market's going. Just, I don't know. Anybody that knows me knows I'm that guy, right? So we talked about that. So, but now the existing home sales in Porter County, okay, so we saw a 2.5% reduction in Lake County. Porter County, we saw the other side. We saw an average sale price increase to 9.45%. That's how many more home on the sales price. We also saw 5.84% more homes sell in 25 than in 24 for the month of September. Okay. And I mean, a 9.45% average, that's really big for an increase overall, right? On a sales price. Like, that's basically kind of COVID numbers, really. Price per square foot, however, was reduced 0.58%. Okay, so it increased, but it was, well, actually decreased, but 0.58% on the existing homes. Now, one thing when we look at the market average, right, on the price per square foot and things like that, and the sales price and everything, we're seeing a big transition in certain areas that were previously, they were maybe not so good areas. A lot of the investors are going in there and they're really, really, really flipping these communities, which is obviously driving up their price point average, right? Which is kind of a big thing. New construction here in Porter County, Lake County, we'll go over that real quick. So in Lake County, it was a 56.36% increase in the amount of sold new construction residents in the month of September. Porter County, 18.5% increase. The average sale price in Lake County, 0.3%. Porter County, 2.28%. Price per square foot, Lake County 1.03, Porter County 6.95. Okay. Market time average, that's kind of irrelevant when it comes to new construction. I mean, it was higher, but a lot of times these homes will go on the market before they're even done, and then you got to wait for it to finish. It's still average like 59 days or something, so it's not really bad. But I know everybody's hearing about housing. And I know, like, in the news, they're talking about it. They're talking about home sales dropping drastically. Home price. I actually was reading an article the other day. So I know parts of Florida, like Cape Coral's one of the hardest hit communities, right? And kind of that Fort Myers area is having a really tough time right now in the market. But I was reading an article, I think it was Wall Street Journal or something. Austin, Texas, and Oakland, California, those two metro markets, have seen a 20% reduction in home values. Okay? A 20% reduction. So a home that was selling for $500,000 is now selling for $400,000 in those markets. Okay? That's not good. It's not horrible, because the thing is, in real estate, you can never lose, because as long as you have time. I mean, if you're trying to buy a house today and sell it tomorrow, right? One, it's a hard thing to do. There's financing rules and guidelines, whatever. But eliminate that, say you could do it, you really wouldn't make any money. But where you benefit is the time of ownership. See, I'm a big Warren Buffett fan, right? Anybody that knows me knows I like Warren Buffett. I respect the guy a lot. Probably one of the best investors the world's ever seen. Actually is. But at a 3% rate of return, a home will double every 22 and a half years. If you take any piece of real estate ever, not even just real estate, really, like even the stock market as a whole, if you take the buy date, you draw a line out 10 years, okay? That 10 years has never been lower after the 10-year buy. It's always been higher, okay? So time is really your best friend when you own a house or you own a piece of real estate. Now, we're not really seeing the big like housing reduction and things like that here in Northwest Indiana. Now, these numbers I just gave you, like I said, were the month of September. Okay. So the month of September, what's closing in September is really a deal that's originating in like July or August. Okay. Deals can easily close in 30 days. I've closed deals in 12 hours before. But a traditional transaction to where it's, buyer to seller, not making it too difficult on either party, 45 days is kind of your time frame. So you always have to look ahead, right? So, like the things that close in the month of October, we're going to talk about that in December, right? Um, the first half of October, that's going to close in November. You get the gist there. But we're actually really stable here in Northwest Indiana, primarily because of, and I've said this over and over and over, we have so many people coming over from Chicago and Illinois, right? They're tired of taxes, they're tired of different things like that. And honestly, taxes are probably like for the individuals, they're probably going to get a lot better to an extent, because that bill, that SB1 that was passed downstate, property taxes are going to get reduced slightly. It's capped. It's over, at least right now, the way the bill reads, from my understanding, it's a general phase up until 2031, and then it's completely phased. But the home value price on the assessed value is supposed to be getting reduced by 66%. 66%. Next year is a 10% with a $300 savings cap, and then each year it grows from there. Now, this is creating strain on local towns and things like that because they're losing funding, but they're trying to figure out different things and ways to secure that funding. So we'll see what happens. But anyways, like our market's actually doing really well. You've got a lot of communities that are blowing. Like, I mean, the amount of construction is insane. You got Valpo and Crown Point and St. John. Hobart's got a bunch of new neighborhoods coming in. I mean, shoot, Portage has like 1,800 units coming in the next few years. Crown Point's got a 4,000 home subdivision. I was reading an article on that they're kind of in the works on right now. There's some stuff going on between Winfield and Crown Point. So we're pretty safe here in Northwest Indiana. Okay. The big thing is I hear people say that they want to wait for a crash to buy a home, or they want the rates to come down. I'm not a fan of saying like, hey, rates are going to come down. Actually, I've been on the other side of that spectrum the last, since 22, since they started raising rates, while every lender was telling their buyers like, oh, rates will be, in the fives by August. I was the only one calling them delusional and out of their mind. I was telling them they'd be in the eights by August, which they were. They hovered there, then they went back down in the sixes, then they went back up into the eights. Now we're in the sixes, like low sixes right now, which is good. But my point is if you can afford a house that you like, you buy the home. You don't wait for a crash, because timing a crash, it's very difficult, and you lose all of. If it works out, that's wonderful. But if you happen to buy a house, right, and say the market goes down, everybody needs a place to live. If you're happy with the home, you love your house, then it doesn't really matter on the value that day, because the value only matters when you go to sell, right? It's the same kind of concept I take with stocks. Like COVID, we all remember that. Group of buddies of mine, we like to talk about stocks and investments. They all called like, man, I bet you're panicking. Like, oh my gosh, BP's down to this is down to this is down. I'm like, yeah, it happens. I was like, I got dividends and automatic reinvest. I'll buy some more shares at a lower price, but I'm not selling today, so none of it matters. It's just there, right? Same thing with a house. It's there. You need a place to live. You need a place to create memories and have your family. And, it's important. Like, my first house, when we sold that, I was a wreck. I mean, it's the longest I ever lived in a single house my whole life, like 15 years. I was young and dumb in that house, had a bunch of parties, really annoyed my neighbors because I was 20 and they were all 35 and 40. Probably hated me. I know the one guy loved the hot tub parties, but we won't talk about that. Um, but then I met my wife. I got married. I had that house. I brought my two daughters home to that house. There was just so much memory there. So do you think I cared about the day-to-day value of the home? I didn't, because it was our house. When I went to go sell that house, we made $150,000 equity. Actually, correction, sorry. For what I bought the house for and what I sold the house for, it increased $100,000. Now, mind you, I bought my house in 2005, went through the Great Recession, stayed in the home, and still sold it for $100,000 more 15 years later. I did finish the basement, okay? I think they gave us 20 grand on that, but so it could have been 80 without that. But my point is, don't try to time it. Like, you're not playing a game with stocks or anything like that. If you're a house flipper, that's a different story, or a house investor, that's a different story. Maybe even then, you're not going to get it right. You know, you might get lucky a couple times out of 100, you know. But if you have any questions about the real estate market here in Northwest Indiana, I'm going to keep you up to date. Just go ahead and hit subscribe on my video. Get a video every month. I do want to start coming out with some better videos. Some buddies of mine and I were talking about starting like a podcast, talking about different investments and not just real estate, but real estate, different investing ideas, things like that, things going on in the world. But I really appreciate your time. If you guys, again, any questions, let me know. Feel free to message me. TWGrealty.com, the Wright group, right? It's kind of the idea. Even though it's me and my assistant, one day it'll be a group, right? So being hopeful. But, you know, you can go to my website, check me out. You know, I love to answer any questions you guys have. All right. Thanks for watching the video. See you next time.